When we look at the history of human thought, we can find three basic theories of gender relations: uniformity, polarity, and complementarity. Theories of uniformity emphasize sameness, seeing men and women as basically interchangeable and downplaying their differences. This idea is very much alive in our time, and you can see it as far back as Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher. Uniformity theories tend to disregard the importance of the body, instead locating personhood in a disembodied mind or spirit. On the opposite end of the spectrum is gender polarity, which sees men and women as contraries or polar opposites, with one gender superior to the other. While these theories recognize meaningful differences between the sexes, they often exaggerate the differences and assert a hierarchy of value. Between these two extremes is complementarity, the idea that men and women have differences that balance and enhance each other. In this understanding, men and women are not seen as complete opposites, but as complements. For a long time, I had a negative view of gender complementarity. I grew up in an evangelical context where the idea of complementarity was used to justify women's subservience to men. I remember reading a book called Wild at Heart when I was in college. The book's premise is that men are wild at heart, and they need to be the hero in their own adventure, whereas the deepest desire of a woman's heart is to be a beauty who is rescued by the male hero. This book portrayed women and men as cartoonish opposites, and that is the vision of complementarity that I typically encountered as an evangelical. But that isn't true complementarity. That is gender polarity masquerading as complementarity. Philosopher Prudence Allen calls this fractional complementarity because it does not see men and women as whole persons with access to the full range of human virtue and giftedness. Instead, each gender reflects only half or a fraction of that fullness. Fractional complementarity divides the human experience into separate lists of fixed traits. Women are emotional, men are rational. Women should be humble, men should be assertive. There is no model in fractional complementarity for a fully integrated human being. The Catholic understanding of gender complementarity is much different. This is known as integral complementarity. Men and women are not incomplete parts, but whole persons. The complementarity between them does not fill in what is lacking, but adds depth and richness to what is already complete. This understanding of complementarity sees the fruitful collaboration of men and women as a kind of synergy, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Integral complementarity also recognizes individual differences. Man and woman are not cookie-cutter stereotypes, but analogous modes of being. I use the term analogous because they are similar in many ways, yet also different. Picture a king and a queen. And for the purposes of this example, let's say a good king and queen. They are alike in many ways, sharing the same traits. They both have a sense of authority and command. They are both wise, both just, both merciful. And yet, they are not interchangeable. They are not totally the same. A king is not a queen, and vice versa. There's a balance here between sameness and difference. Because each person is an integrated whole of body, soul, and intellect and will, being a woman or being a man is something dynamic, not predetermined by fixed and polarized traits. There are not masculine and feminine virtues, but rather human virtues that are enacted and embodied by masculine and feminine persons. We are all called to be humble. We are all called to be courageous. I've come to embrace the idea of gender complementarity, but not in a fractional mode. Theories of uniformity and polarity tend toward extremes that either disregard the body as part of our personhood or exaggerate our differences in order to put one gender over the other. Catholic feminism needs to avoid both extremes. Only an integral understanding of gender complementarity reflects a Catholic vision of the human person and the possibility of dynamic synergy between men and